Meet Berries, the AI-powered scribe that writes your therapy notes for you. Secure and private with no recordings stored and EMR ready with one click. Join over 8,000 clinicians, saving time and staying present in sessions. And right now, save $50 off your first month with code TherapyShow50. Berries, so you can focus on care, not notes.
Welcome to the Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard, where continuing education meets convenience. Lisa brings therapists practical conversations with expert guests who share tools, techniques, and insights to enrich your practice. Whether you're on a walk, commuting, or cooking dinner, you can earn continuing education contact hours and stay inspired without sitting through endless recorded trainings. Visit lisamustard.com to join the CE membership and keep your professional growth as seamless as your favorite podcast.
Please note that the content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional mental health care, diagnose, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your own licensed mental health provider or medical professional regarding your specific situation. While I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and my guests are also professional counselors, the discussions in this podcast are meant to offer general insights and should not be taken as personalized therapeutic advice. Listening to this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship with me or any of my guests. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis or have thoughts of harming yourself or others, please contact a mental health professional, call 911, or go to the nearest emergency room immediately. You can also reach out to a crisis hotline such as the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 in the United States for immediate support. Every individual's journey is unique, and what works for one person may not be suitable for another, so please use discretion and seek appropriate care as needed. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of The Therapy Show. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard, and I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Juda Alcabes to the podcast. Welcome, Dr. Juda. It's so great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so can you share with our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing this since 2013. And in the last, 5 years or so, some people would call it like a mental breakdown of sorts. I call it a quarter life crisis, but any way you call it, I ended up doing comedy and then realizing that there's so much power in it therapeutically. And then researching the crap out of it and really developing a way of bringing it to other people in a lot of different settings, but turning it clinical without poisoning the fun, right? Because I think that's a big challenge of that. So that's the short of it. But what I do is I teach improv comedy, specifically comedy that's made up on the spot, to people for various mental health challenges. And then I also do stand up, but that's a little bit of a different track. But I actually do teach some of my improv students stand up, and there's a confidence building component to that too. But the core of it is that I found that improv is tremendously therapeutic, and in the right settings with the right intention, with the right focus also, it can really open up doors that, I knew I opened them for myself, but then also seeing that it was working with opening up doors with clients I was working with for a long time, that really accelerated things and really made them believe in themselves in a different way.
Yeah, cool. Before we started recording that you're looking forward to talking to somebody who also is clinical, because it sounds like a lot of the podcasts that you do are not clinical. Is that okay?
Yeah, people are interested in the idea of it, and I love talking about it. I could talk about it forever. There's a nerdy, nitty-gritty therapist side of me that needs attention sometimes, that gets to talk about the theory of why things work and how it could be different than other treatments and where there's overlap and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how I was like, I'm excited to be a nerd in that way. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's dive into the nerdy part, because I'm sure you have, piqued the curiosity of some of our listeners. I wonder how many therapists out there see the value in comedy or improv in their life as well as in work. So yeah, let's get nerdy. Where you want to start with the nerdy stuff?
Yeah. So we'll go in like this. First place that I really started using improv in a clinical setting was in my anxiety groups. So in my anxiety groups, I had been running them for a long time, and I had a heavy psychodrama component to it, really being able to create scenarios and test things out, and even stretching the imagination. I did a lot of role play where you are someone else's anxiety and we're having conversations with your anxiety right now and all that. But when I started taking improv classes for myself, one of the interesting things that I found was that they didn't want to explain anything to me. I was like, ooh, I have a question as a therapist. And they're like, I don't know. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So I started to a lot of explanation that we were doing as therapists, which specifically with the anxiety population is not helpful, right? We know that. Now, what's the balance, right? What's the balance? Because we're clinicians, and there's a lot of value in understanding this psychoeducation and understanding certain processes and concepts. And so I started testing it out in my anxiety group. And what I found was that there was this kind of experience that my clients were having during challenging their anxiety in an improv scene where they're socially anxious and their performance anxiety is through the roof, but they were having a good time. And I didn't need to explain anything to them because they were laughing and they were connecting, right? And so it really hit me that there's value in being able to do something clinically and not get in the way of the human experience of what's happening, right? And that's the beginning of it. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's neat. I like how you said, as therapists, we want to understand like why we're doing this. What's going to be the outcome? Is this the best thing to do in the moment? But I guess what I'm hearing you say is just kind of going with it and seeing what comes up for your client and exploring that. Really, that's relational work to me, I think. But
Yeah.
I think it's really neat. I love that you said that you found that they were just having a good time. Could they explain it? Could they like tell you what was happening for them?
So this is the thing with improv is that initiation into improv is difficult because it's clunky, it's embarrassing, it's cringy, right? I was in a class last Wednesday and it was called like Big Booty. And everybody was like going big booty number one, big booty number two. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. And especially if you have a lot of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And so initiation into it is difficult. And I think in my opinion, that's the biggest challenge of doing improv with any group. Unless they're improvisers, then you're like, all right, settle down, guys. Well, but once people are in there, and I found this to be true with all the populations I work with, if we're successful in guiding them into a space where they could take a chance, they could be playful, then improv is its own teacher. And so when you're anxious and you're overthinking, right? And then you're in a scene and you have to say something, like you have no choice, right? Your scene partner's looking at you. We're making up this story. I said, hey, I'm here for my 5 o'clock appointment, and you have no choice but to say something, right? And so your overthinking is like trying to push its way in, but the moment is going to pass. So then you just blurt something out. And then all of a sudden you get a reaction from, let's say, the room you're in where they laugh at what you said, right? And that moment is such a reinforcing moment because it's like deep down, I didn't overthink it and I was successful, right? And I'm enjoying this. Right. So then it makes me want to try it again, do it again. Right. As opposed to, let's say, exposure therapy, traditional exposure therapy, which is great, but has like a no pain, no gain kind of aspect to it. It's like, it's going to be painful and then you're going to get through it. And then you're going to eventually feel the benefit. This would be more like, I'm socially anxious. I don't want to do this. I'm willing to give it a shot because I trust you. And then sometimes within the first 30 seconds, you get a reinforcement, which maybe you've never had from not overthinking something, right? So that's the good time that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I can see how that would be beneficial as well. But like you said, you have to trust the person that you're doing it with.
Yeah.
So is this something that you do in your sessions?
There's a new way for counselors to complete their continuing education contact hours, and it doesn't involve staring at slides. Lisa has created pod courses, the perfect mix of podcast convenience and professional development. You'll find engaging topics like OCD treatment, burnout and self-care, first responder support, holistic approaches, and more. Listen while you drive, exercise, or even do chores. After a short quiz, you'll get your certificate of completion. It's that simple. Explore the full library today at lisamustard.com/podcourses or click the link in the show notes. These courses are proudly offered by Mustard Consulting LLC, an NBCC ACEP provider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't do it in every session. It really, like I said about initiation, right? Sometimes it'll be a client that has done improv groups with me many times. And in the middle of a session, I'll be like, let's do some improv. Let's work on that thing that we're talking about right now. With other people, it might be the beginning of the initiation of teaching them what this concept is and like how it's going to feel bizarre and it's worth a chance. But if you're not interested in it or it feels too uncomfortable, that's totally acceptable. And really giving them a chance to ease their way into it. Sometimes I have people being like, I heard you do improv. I want to do improv. And other times someone might mention it and I might bring it up several months later. I know that you mentioned it and maybe you weren't there yet, but this might be a good opportunity to use some improv skills. So I do it individually and I definitely do it in groups. That I always do. And it varies. It varies of like when and why I do it. And that's where the clinical aspect is, that I'm a big believer in knowing what the intervention is supposed to do. Right. And so I love improv, but improv is not necessarily helpful for everybody. Right.
Yeah.
So when I pitch it to a client, I explain to them, this is why I'm thinking that it'll be helpful. Once I explain it to them, then I tell them, okay, for the next X amount of time, I'm not going to explain anything to you. It's just, if you feel safe enough to take a chance, then go for it. If you feel like you need to pull back, then say I need to pull back. But we'll do the analysis afterwards. Once you're in, then let's play the game, get to the end of the game, and then we can talk about it and see what happened. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm also guessing that there are therapists out there who are listening going, wow, that sounds really cool, but I don't know. I've never done improv. How do I even dip my toe in it to see if it's something that I want to not only try, but also maybe do in session?
Yeah. So the thing with doing it clinically is that you really got to be comfortable doing it yourself. Right. And for some people professionally, it's just not a space that they can go. I'm not even talking about mentally, emotionally. Professionally, they're like, I'm not exactly about to turn into a tree and say, I'm a sad tree or whatever it comes up in the scene. But there's the other part of it, which is your own comfort, right? Your own comfort being silly, being cringy, taking a chance, not knowing what's going to happen, right? I've done improv scenes with my clients where I can't really think of any that went off the rails in like a crazy, chaotic way that needed some sort of repair afterwards. But I know I've been embarrassed before. I know I've done scenes where I'm like, what the hell was that? And part of the training of improv opens you up to those kind of moments and you're more okay with it. As a clinician, I think it's an interesting philosophical discussion about our clinical professionalism, right? Because we used to be too professional, right? And now there's so much pushback in the other direction of just going to be casual. I'm just going to be myself and all that kind of stuff. Look at me. I'm wearing a baseball cap and a Target t-shirt. And this is how I am in session. Sometimes professionalism, I think, is really helpful in terms of keeping boundaries and keeping a certain frame for the therapy, right? And then there are other times when it's just about us, right? And so in order to do improv with your clients, you have to have some, not total clarity, but you have to have some willingness to wade into the waters of, I'm going to challenge my professional mask a little bit right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you use it, you said, with anxiety issues. Are there other areas of our work that you see improv working?
Yeah. In a very large category, but then breaks down into smaller categories, is intimacy. My primary specialty is sex and porn addiction. And mostly men that I work with have real issues with intimacy, with connecting to other people in a non-sexual way, in an emotional way. And when we do improv, really what we're doing is we are sharing the space with another person while being present there. And that's the core of intimacy. I actually found this first with music, because I do a lot of music in my therapy. With musical clients, we'll play music. And I recall several years ago that I was playing music with one of my clients and he was just not paying attention when it wasn't his time to shine, and then focusing up big time when it was his solo. And we talked about that. There's an intimacy that's happening here. And if intimacy in your mind is, whose turn is it? Right? So then you're not really, we're not building a bond. Right? And so improv is the same way. So then that extends to couples too. I do it with couples as well. And that has an added bonus of, let's get back to our playful parts of our relationship, how we met and how we were playful in the beginning. And then we said, we love each other. Let's get serious and forget about all the stuff that we did when we fell in love with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's really cool how it is a process of the process experience with the music. And because it's not like we're just playing music, it's like you're paying attention, as a great couples therapist would, paying attention to what's going on in the room at the moment. So I think that's just another tool. I think that's really something.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. I think the playfulness of the whole thing really is so important. Again, I think it might be difficult for some therapists to imagine themselves being playful, but I also know there's a lot of therapists out there that are like me, where they were like less playful for a very long time because there didn't seem like there was a clinical value to it, right? And then over my work with this, realizing that if you got skills, unique skills as a therapist, you should bring them to your practice. Now, I can then be a stickler about this where I will say, are you really clear on how it's an intervention? Or is it the kind of thing that you're like, I like this thing, so everyone should do this thing, right? That's why I didn't do anything with improv clinically for several months when I started taking the course myself. Because I was like, I'm not going to like just start telling everybody to do this thing because it opened me up. I started reading like crazy. I started trying to make connections in the theory, started putting together a framework, even if it's not always delivered to other people, at least I'm solid in it.
Yeah.
But I think that people should be looking into, as a clinician, this is my unique skill set. Can I clinicalize this in a way that speaks to people, or is it maybe not? And that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Is it okay if we go back to what made you decide to try improv for the first time?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the short of it is that this is 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, I just needed a day off, and I took a mental health day. I was going to do a whole bunch of stuff, like take myself on a date kind of day. And I just, for some reason, it popped into my head, like, let me see if there's a class here. I'm in South Florida, and for some reason, South Florida improv scene is like tiny compared to other big cities where it's like improv is everywhere. Just an interesting thing. New York, Chicago, LA, like these cities are like exploding with improv. Miami has like, from Miami to Delray, there's 5 places that do it. I happen to get lucky that I found one on that Thursday, and it really felt freeing to me. Now that's the moment where I went ahead and did it. But the truth is that I was doing improv my whole life, just in these informal settings. And I always loved it. Like when we were kids, we used to make up these games, and we used to play like commercials. Okay, 2 teams have to make up an advertisement for something. And like, we would do it for like as long as it was, and everyone would be like, okay, let's do something else now. And I'm like, no, let's do another one. Let's do another one. And I was always like, let's do more of it. Let's do more of it, which is very interesting to me because I feel like I was drawn to it for a long time, but didn't feel like it had utility or that I wasn't ready for it yet. And so that was what made me try it. I almost knew that when I was like going to try it once, unless it was like something bad about it, that I was going to be in love with it. Cause I already was like, I love this stuff. I didn't realize how much I would love it because then it would speak to me on such a much deeper level of this like freedom and adulthood that most of us don't get. Yeah.
Okay. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm just thinking that's like parallel process. You're like,
Yeah.
you couldn't use some improv in their life. You couldn't use some fun or playfulness in their life. And when you were talking about those games of making things up, and that just took me straight back to my childhood too.
Yeah.
Just really just having fun and being silly and not caring, just having a good time with your friends. That's
Right.
really special. So what does it look like for you today? Are you your personal improv career? What does that look like?
Yeah. So it's awesome. I love it. I'm performing, not as much as I would like to because it's small scene here in South Florida. I'm doing like pure improv performances. I do stand up and I do workshops, corporate workshops and team building. And I teach improv at a high school, and I do my groups here and with addictions and the treatment centers, like really just like all different populations, day camps, like all of it. And I'm just running around doing improv. What I mean by like the core performance, like improv stuff, is that there's like a nerdy deep end to improv, that's like my home group. And like where you're like totally out of your mind. And most people would look at it and be like, I don't understand what the hell is going on right now. But if you're an improviser, you're like, oh, that was great. It was a brilliant move. I don't get to do those as much as I would like. But yeah, I'm running around everywhere, teaching improv, doing stand up. And really like the teaching improv it's the deep, meaningful stuff. That's the stuff that like really fills me up, because it's like when you give somebody that opportunity, like to open themselves up. I know how blocked I was creatively, and then feel like offering that to somebody. Like sometimes people will come over to me after an improv class and they'll be like, I can think of so many areas I could use this in my life. And I'm like, welcome. Yes.
Yeah. You have been bitten by the bug. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm super curious about it. Okay. So what would you say to somebody, a therapist out there who wants to learn more or try this out? What should they do next?
Yeah, I have some good videos up discussing how to like clinical benefits of improv. I would say if you're brave, and you don't have to be that brave, but if you're willing to take yourself out of your comfort zone, look up a local improv class. One of the beautiful things about improv is that there's a lot of very friendly community type improv. And that's actually like a big part of the origins of improv in America, right? Viola Spolin was doing it in Hull House in Chicago in the 1930s, and her son went on to open Second City, and that's where Saturday Night Live people come from. And so it like branches off into two different tracks, so to speak, which is rare, meaning one is like professional acting track. And then the other one is really community improv. And I don't think a lot of arts have such a strong community component to it. Like I was in DC a couple months ago and I found a community improv class in some community center, and it was a drop-in course, which is another thing that improv has, like drop-in classes. And I just immediately started doing improv with these people that I never met before, right? And it's beautiful. You speak the same language. You're there to support each other because improv has a lot of components of just being supportive more than being in the spotlight. Making your scene partner look good is a big part of it. So you walk into a room in the middle of nowhere. Oh, drop-in class in this community center. Try it out because you really don't have anything to lose. And those settings oftentimes are the ones where you realize, oh, okay, so like I could be more playful or I could try things out differently. And like, I don't really lose anything, especially because everyone here is acting like a dumbass. They're not going to look at me and be like, he's a dumbass. We're all dumbasses. Yeah.
That guy's way more of a dumbass.
But I would say try it out. I would say definitely try it out. And people who do psychodrama, I would say this is people who are into psychodrama, reach out to me because the overlap is tremendous and there's such great opportunities to put them together, right? To sharpen your skills as a psychodrama clinician by using improv concepts. Yeah. And I always love talking to people who are in psychodrama because they're like, we're like really right standing next to each other. We didn't realize yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's really cool. I don't even think in my graduate program I got much on psychodrama, maybe a chapter. My supervisor, he was into it. He did it every now and then, but he would try anything. He was just open to all things. So I would be surprised. But he worked with Virginia Satir and Carl Whitaker. Yeah, and Carl Whitaker. Yeah, so
Virginia Satir's psychodrama. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So he's always open. He's always up for something, knowing him. So I'll have to get him to listen to this episode. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Juda, if people want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, you can go to the improvtherapist.com. The Improv Therapist on socials, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. My YouTube channel has longer form videos, but that's the improvtherapist.com.
And will you consult with therapists? Will you,
if
they're interested in kind of learning more? Because this might just be kind of, people might be interested, but if they want to reach out to you, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Was there anything else you want to let us know?
No, I don't know. Try it out. Take some risk. Let me know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for being here. This has just been great.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Please note that the Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice. Always consult with your therapist, doctor, or physician before implementing any suggestions from the show. The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard is edited and engineered by Chelsea Weaver. If you're looking to start a podcast or ready to take the editing off of your plate, be sure to visit chelseaweaverpodcasting.com. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard. I know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm thankful you've chosen to listen to mine. Be sure to visit lisamustard.com to access the show notes and discover all the pod courses and other continuing education offerings. And I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the show. Thank you.